Fucking fantastic way of putting it. Like, yes, move on. Like, if you are not passionate about doing this, move the fuck on. Like, they left their mark. Baldur's Gate 3 is an incredible game. Welcome, everybody, to Respawn Please, the weekly video game podcast where two friends come together to talk all things video games. And today, I'm Jesus. I'm always Jesus, though, so that's a little weird. But today, with me, as always, is Elle. And Elle, we have two topics to discuss today. I hope you're ready. Are you ready?
Yes, I am somewhat ready. Very ready.
It sounds like you're not ready. So, I'm going to ask you again. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Yeah! Welcome to WrestleMania. No, WrestleMania, 2 weeks. 2 weeks away, L. 2 weeks away.
Whoa.
So there you go. Everybody go watch WrestleMania. It's going to be great. Cody Rhodes is going to finish the story, or he's not. Or he's not. I mean, that's the way it goes, right? Anyways, this isn't about WrestleMania. This is about video games. And today our two topics that we have a review roundup. So this is kind of a cheat because the review roundup has multiple topics that we're going to talk about because we have three games that we're going to discuss. And then we have information about Larian's plans for their next game after Baldur's Gate 3. And surprise, surprise, it's not Baldur's Gate 4. It's no DLC.
Oh my gosh.
In fact, what the real topic is, Larian Studios is never going to freaking touch Baldur's Gate again, apparently. But boy. We'll talk all about that later. Elle, how you doing? What you doing? What you been playing? How's life?
I'm doing well. Today's been very much like a relaxing, just chill day from the week. Been playing, of course, Overwatch. I'm just trying to get through this battle pass and be done with it. And then outside of that, been playing, which we'll talk. Well, by the time that this come out, we would already have recorded our review for A Short Hike. I played that today, knocked it out, and we'll talk more about that in our review. But played a little bit of Slay the Spire, and really just like those three. That's really the only things that I've had time for. But other than that, also, I don't know if you can tell in the background, I got a IKEA piece of furniture over here with some stuff back there. So my room is slowly looking more nice and organized versus just being empty.
What else do you want to add to your background? Like I have stuff I want to add to my background too, but I want more Pokemon stuff.
I think I wanted to. I think on my shelf here I have these little bear bricks. I like the little bears. I wanted to. I only buy them when I go to Japan. That sounds very like money. Like only when I go to Japan.
Money. I go to Japan every other week and get some more bears.
No.
Look at me, fancy. They call me Elias Fancy Pants.
No, but I made it a thing because me and my partner, we've gone to Japan twice, and I bought a bear every time I went. So next time I go back, I want to bring one more back, so it'll be 3. Outside of that, though, the only other thing that I can foresee right now is maybe some lights in the back, like some LED lights, or I know I want to add a couch, which you'll probably never see it, or you might, depending on the angle over here, but it's going to be over here to my right. And then after that, the last thing I think I want to do is a bunch of soundproofing. And so like just soundproof, because there is still a little bit of a reverb here, but I want to try to get rid of that. So yeah.
Nice solid plan.
I
was about to ask something very dark, so I'm not going to because we need to stay lively and positive here. So I'm going to avoid the question that I had because my brain, something's wrong with me. Anyways, I've been playing mostly nothing really. I'm going to be honest. I haven't really been touching too much. I played Halo today and played Mass Effect today for my stream, my personal stream. But other than that, I haven't really been doing too much gaming. I've been watching a lot of anime though, which we're gonna one of them like we'll talk about because we're gonna review one of these animes in the future. So
gotcha.
I've just been watching a lot of stuff and relaxing because for some reason this week I've been really weird. This week and just been kind of like don't really want to do anything. Played Overwatch with you earlier this week.
Oh yeah.
I think we have plans to play Overwatch again tomorrow, right? Or
no, it's actually going to be Dead by Daylight. If remember last time. I
gotta install that.
Yeah, I know I got to do it too. I actually need to message them, but anyway. But yeah.
Yeah, we should actually message them and confirm that we are going to play that tomorrow. Anyways, there's this stuff to talk about. We have games. We have a review roundup to talk about. So let's just dive in. Elle, which game do you want to start with? Because we're going to discuss Rise of Ronin, Princess Peach Showtime, and Dragon's Dogma 2. And there's a little bit more stuff to talk about Dragon's Dogma as well. I don't know if you've been seeing the controversy, this microtransaction controversy, which we'll talk about with Dragon's Dogma when we get to it. But which game do you want to start with? What game would you like to start with?
I'd say let's keep it a little light. Let's ease our way into this. So the first one that I think we should get into is Princess Peach Showtime.
Princess Peach Showtime. Let me tell you. It's currently sitting at a 76 on OpenCritic. IGN's Logan Plant gave it a 7 out of 10, saying Princess Peach Showtime is more closely aligned with Kirby and Yoshi's simple, cheery romps rather than Mario's polished platformers and Luigi's haunted mansions. There's fun to be had in the Sparkle Theater as these delightfully simplified takes on some of gaming's most popular genres are entertaining to blast through, and the whimsical stage play aesthetic gives Peach another crack at her solo outing after nearly 2 decades. And I hope this is the start of an ongoing spin-off series within the wider Mario universe. Some notable performance issues and the frustrating lack of chapter select means I won't be returning for an encore, and I wish there were a few extra levels to lengthen the somewhat brief campaign. But Nintendo and Princess Peach at least know how to put on a good show. And then over on GameSpot, Steve Watts gave it a 7 out of 10 as well, saying Princess Peach Showtime is a friendly, inviting game that's made to be easy to digest. Some of the genres work better than others in this format, but none of them are too tricky or off-putting, and most of it will come down to personal taste. None of these stages are fleshed out enough to support their own game, but they're an invitation for novice gamers to explore a bunch of different game types, with a charming and apparently polymath princess offering her gloved hand to welcome them in. So, Elle, are you surprised by the 76 on OpenCritic, the response to it? I know leading up to this, like last week and the week before, I was telling you about like the previews and like the demo and how the demo was not doing well on a performance level, and people's response to it were kind of negative. Were you surprised that it got a 76? Were you expecting higher or anything?
I would say that a part of me kind of, when we initially saw the preview for Princess Peach Showtime, it did seem kind of like, I think initially I was like, this game feels like it's just going to be okay. And I was expecting maybe a little bit higher, maybe on the lower 80s, if not like around 80, 81. But I can see why it's at a 76 with all the issues, the performance issues, and just, people talking about that. It's kind of hard because sometimes it's like Nintendo almost can't do any wrong with like the Mario just franchise and stuff. And so I thought it would be interesting to see what they would did. I wasn't expecting too much out of it, though. I'll say that. Because I mean, it's Nintendo. I mean, there's going to be certain games that are a little bit more like complex, I guess you could say. But Princess Peach Showtime, definitely from the title and just from seeing it, felt like a very family-friendly, easy to get into type of game that you can just kind of play through and not really have to worry too much about sweating as you're playing it. But to say all of that, no, I think it's landing exactly where initially I had thought, even though I hoped for it to be a little higher.
Yeah, I think Princess Peach, like I wasn't expecting too much out of it. I saw it, I was like, oh, it's adorable. Like that was my response. It looks cute. It looks cute. It looks fun. And by all accounts, it's like this game is more meant for kids, obviously. For as GameSpot Steve Watts points out in his review, that this is more of a for novice gamers to like explore the different various game types to see what clicks with them. And I think this would be a very good introduction for young gamers, for novice gamers. And I think that's where a lot of these reviews lean towards, is that Princess Peach Showtime is meant for like a younger audience, for less experienced people that play games and stuff. And it's a way to kind of invite. And I think this is going to be a first game for a lot of people, if that makes sense. Like if you have a Nintendo Switch, if you have a kid, they're like 5-6 years old, they'll probably love this game because it's bright, it's colorful, there's a lot going on, and by all accounts, most of the stuff is simple, and my dog's going crazy. He doesn't agree. My dog doesn't agree with this. My dog says, no, this is awful. Don't deal with it. There we go. But overall, though, I'm not surprised that Princess Peach landed in the 76 range. Like,
yeah,
honestly, I was expecting like you 80, 81, but it's also not surprising that it's a 76. And 76 doesn't mean it's a bad game. It just means
exactly
it's an okay game. And
exactly.
Yeah, performance issues aside and stuff, it sounds like it's fun. I'm going to be honest, I doubt this is a game I'm ever going to play. Like,
agreed. Yeah.
I'm not a Mario person to begin with, which is wild to say, I know, but like, just not for me, you know? So
no, definitely. It makes sense. It doesn't seem like a game that, like you said earlier, it seems more like a game that for someone who's just getting into video games, you know, maybe a good introduction for someone to, just kind of like ease their way into it versus, you know, it's better to throw them into something that seems very simple to play and follow versus throwing them into some sort of, you know, whether it be like a Overwatch, Zelda, or like, you know, some crazy game where that requires a lot of like focus and, you know, paying attention to things. Whereas Princess Peach, it seems like it'll be a forgiving game to beginners, you know?
Yeah, I agree. Moving on from Princess Peach, we're going to go back. We're going to another game that's landed in the 76 range, which is Rise of the Ronin. It currently 6 out of 76 on OpenCritic. IGN's Will Borger gave it a 7 out of 10, saying, Rise of the Ronin marries a cool historical setting, Team Ninja's mastery of tough but fair combat, and some smart RPG design to make a game that is immediately compelling and even more fun with friends. It's full of cool little touches, whether it's throwing something at an enemy with the grappling rope or dropping from your glider onto your horse. Unfortunately, it's also a game full of map clutter, bloated systems, and a truly absurd amount of junk loot. And the time I spent clearing out everything that didn't spark joy and dealing with all these non-essential systems made me pine for a leaner, meaner, more focused game. Rise of the Ronin is excellent when it has the courage to be itself and lean into its challenging, rewarding fighting. Too often, however, it feels stuck in indecision, torn between what it wants to be and what it feels it's expected to be. And not even the best samurai can overcome that. So little down on the game, but a little higher on the game. Over on the 6 axis, Aaron Suddy gave it a 9 out of 10, saying, Rise of the Ronin is a massive gamble for Team Ninja, known for its more linear action games. But it's one that's paid off. Rise of the Ronin has a lot of depth to it, from the satisfying combat to all the side activities across 3 broad regions and the plethora of excellent characters. The game should mark the start of a brand new era for Team Ninja. So we have very different reviews here for Rise of the Ronin, which I wanted to make sure I highlighted that, because Rise of the Ronin, and this actually this doesn't surprise me, but it also kind of surprises me. Yeah. Because, you know, Team Ninja, they've made their Wukong game that they made last year, right? Wukong. Yeah, Wolong. Fallen Dynasty or whatever it's called. Yeah. And then there are Neo games. They're kind of Souls-like. And Rise of the Ronin has sort of Souls-like combat and stuff. And so if that stuff hits for you, then it's going to hit. But then they tried to wrap it with what sounds like to me a lot of like Ubisoft junk. You know, you have these open world games. You have to climb a tower. You get a map with a whole bunch of crap on it, like especially the more recent Ubisoft games. And again, that hits for certain people and doesn't hit for other people. So Rise of the Ronin seems like it's a game that it's either going to hit for you or it's not.
Definitely.
Which doesn't surprise me, but I was surprised that it's because of varying different factors. I thought it was only going to be hit for you or not hit for you because it's a Souls-like, which it's sort of is, but not quite. But then it also has the open world, but it's also full of junk. So it's
exactly
what it's going to be for you. I know for me, like the Souls-like combat and stuff, like the challenging combat, not something I'm really interested in. I would give it a try, but honestly, I don't like map clutter. I hate seeing that. Like, hey, when I like open a map and I see 1,000 different things, like, hey, come do this, come do that. I'm like, no, I don't want to. So Rise of the Ronin is also a game that I probably won't play. If I do play, it'll because I got it like during a sale or something. What are your thoughts, El? Are you surprised by Rise of the Ronin? I know you were excited about it. You thought it looked cool. I think we both thought it looked cool.
It's one of those things where like everything that was being revealed about it in the trailers like gave it like a lot of hype, and I was like, oh, this looks really cool. The combat looks amazing, which the combat does look cool, but it's just the other. I think what ended up happening is the other things got in the way of it. I am surprised a little bit because I was expecting more from it, just because I know I did play Wolong Fallen Dynasty, and that's like it was a fun, fast action packed game, very Souls like, and it can be tough at times, but it was fun. It was rewarding. It felt like I guess you could say to me a lighter version of Dark Souls or Demon Souls or whatever have you, and it was just a little bit cooler to me, but I was expecting more for it, like an 80. It's somewhere in the 80 to 85, not quite 90. I didn't expect it to be that high, but just kind of like Princess Peach, I was expecting it to land in the 80s and be a little bit more stronger in that end. But looking at other reviews that I've seen online too, it seems like for the most part, aside from the Sixth Axis review, everyone says the same thing of like, there's a lot of like unnecessary things going on that kind of like they said, Will Borger said, where it just gets in the way of itself, Yeah. And that sucks because I feel like if it were leaner, it probably would kind of go more into that 8 out of 10 area, maybe that, 81, 82 in Open Critic. But I was expecting a little bit more, which sucks. But like I said, I don't think that it's a bad game. It's just an okay game that could have been leaned out a little bit more,
Yeah, it's a game. It's a Prime game that's gonna hit for some people and not hit for others. Like, I kind of agree with you. I think like if it was more focused, it didn't have a lot of fluff, and I think that's something that a lot of open world games like I think struggle with, where there's just a lot of fluff stuff that a lot of times doesn't feel necessary. Like I mentioned Ubisoft games, most of them have that. Like, I can't think of like the last several Ubisoft games that I can think of, like Assassin's Creed Origins, Assassin's Creed, like mostly the Assassin's Creed games, Far Cry, like all of that just has so much fluff to it where it feels kind of pointless. And it sounds like Rise of the Ronin has kind of incorporated that, which is unfortunate. Even games like, I would argue, I'm probably going to get blasted for saying this, but Spider-Man 2, that's how I felt about Spider-Man 2 with a lot of like the side activities where I was just like, I don't give a shit about any of this. This just feels like fluff that you're making me do for no reason. I'm probably going to get yelled at for that, but whatever. I haven't expressed my thoughts on Spider-Man 2 on the podcast. Oh, yeah. Nobody will ever hear them. But with that said, like, I think that's the danger of open world games like this. I think Elden Ring kind of changed what people's perception of what like an open world should be. Same with like Zelda Breath of the Wild and Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, where it's like more about discovery rather than putting a bunch of shit on the screen for you to go do. Like, you need to go over here and do this, whereas that design for like Elden Ring and Tears of the Kingdom, it's like, go discover yourself. We won't tell you what you need to do. We will tell you what you need to do. You will discover for yourself, and then we'll make sure to mark it on the map once you find the thing that you need to find. But just discover it for yourself. And so I kind of lean towards that a lot, and I want to see more of that. But it makes sense that Rise of the Ronin also uses it, because it's also a formula that a lot of PlayStation games use, and Rise of the Ronin is an exclusive PlayStation game and had the backing of PlayStation and stuff. So it doesn't surprise me as well at all either that it kind of incorporated a lot of what other Sony games are doing, like Spider-Man and what is that game called? Horizon Zero Dawn and all that. Yeah. So Horizon Forbidden West. And so it kind of just, it fits the mold of what I would expect from a PlayStation exclusive game, even though it's a Team Ninja game. Yeah. So
makes sense. I was going to say, to kind of tag along with the games of like Watch Dogs also has that thing where sometimes you're doing a lot of unnecessary things. A lot of Ubisoft is that's their formula, and that's like what they do. And so sometimes you're like, why am I doing all this? It doesn't seem to be adding up for me. but
Yeah.
it's just a part of it, you know.
Yeah. You know what a good open world game does it perfectly?
What's that?
Sleeping Dogs. I actually don't agree. Sleeping Dogs has a lot of fluff to it too.
Great game.
But, hey,
yeah, it does have
Sleeping Dogs.
a lot of fluff.
Sleeping Dogs,
Great
you know,
game.
you can do the chicken fighting stuff, you know.
Oh yeah.
Who doesn't like going out to the middle of there's like a boat out in the middle of the ocean where you just fly and go out to. Anyways, I've been playing. I've recently, it's not important. I was about to go on a tangent about Sleeping Dogs because my cousin has been playing it and I've been watching him play. So anyways,
So funny.
But yeah, but Rise of the Ronin landing in the 76. Honestly, that does surprise me. I was expecting it to be like on par at the very least with Wolong, which got in the 80s range, right? Or am I mistaken on that? So I was expecting it to be like around that, like 80, 81, 82, like low 80s. So this was a little bit of a surprise too. I know you were very hyped on it before it was coming out. Like, and I think it was last week, and I was like, "Man, have you seen the preview stuff for it?" And you're like, "Oh no, is it bad?" And you're like, I saw like you just get, "Oh no," when I mentioned that to you.
No, that sucks.
Yeah, like 2 weeks ago when I mentioned it, but sorry for ruining it for you.
No, you're fine. On Open Critic, Wolong was at an 81.
Yeah, so that's what I was expecting for Rise of the Ronin.
Yeah.
I was actually expecting it to be higher than that, to be honest, because I was expecting them to like learn. But I guess it makes sense. They were like working on them parallel to each other, so and I think it's like different teams too. So
yeah. Well, it is what it is.
It is what it is. But you know, a game that's hitting right now
for
various reasons, and some of them not good, is Dragon's Dogma 2. Dragon's Dogma 2 has an 89 on Open Critic. PC gamers Fraser Brown gave it an 89 out of 100, saying, even though it doesn't massively deviate from the first Dragon's Dogma game, and at times invokes the likes of Monster Hunter and Elden Ring, it still feels like a singular game overflowing with memorable moments, momentarily epic battles with sun-blotting behemoths, slapstick encounters with goblins who are just begging to be picked up and thrown around, the endless charm of your NPC companions. Every few minutes, a new anecdote is generated. And then over on Game Informer, Jesse Vitelli gave it a 9 out of 10, saying Dragon's Dogma 2 captures the spirit of the original without sanding down the edges of what made it excellent. Its insistence on player exploration and discovery, coupled with an ending I think I will think about for the rest of the year, makes Dragon's Dogma 2 a standout game and a worthy successor. So like across the board, the general consistence with Dragon's Dogma has been that it's a fun game to play. It's an RPG, a lot of exploration. I'm kind of surprised at all the hype that it's getting. Yeah. I'm kind of surprised by all that. I was expecting it to be good. The first Dragon's Dogma, Dark Arisen and all that was good. Like I owned Dragon's Dogma, Dark Arisen on PC. I remember playing it like 10 years ago. At this point, it's been like 12 years since the first Dragon's Dogma game came out. So yeah, it's been a while. 10, 12 years, something like it came out in 2012, I want to say. So
wow. I
think I played in like 2015 when it was like on sale or something, you know, one of the Steam sales. And like I remember enjoying it and thinking, oh, this is fun. It's easy to look at it and go, oh, this is like an Elden Ring or something. It's not that. It's the combat is a lot simpler in a lot of ways than like an Elden Ring and stuff. And like so don't expect it to be like an Elden Ring or anything, because the combat's very different. You're still dodging and stuff, but it's a lot more forgiving, is all I can say with that.
Gotcha.
The original Dragon's Dogma, and it sounds like Dragon's Dogma 2 is similar in that vein. But yeah, I'm interested in playing Dragon's Dogma 2. I'm interested in getting into this world and exploring. I've already seen some really cool things on like TikTok that like pique my interest. Like I saw this person jump from a griffin and like their NPC companion caught them and set them down, and then they started fighting the griffin. I was like, oh, that's so cool. Funny. So like even like with what PC Gamers Fraser Brown said, that every few minutes a new anecdote is generated. So it's like something new will happen for you, something that may not be the same for somebody else, and it will always be a unique experience, or maybe not. But yeah, I'm surprised by this. Are you, El? Are you surprised by Dragon's Dogma 2?
Yeah, a little bit. Because I mean, me going into it, I've never played Dragon's Dogma 1, and so I didn't have any kind of knowledge beforehand about it. And I just knew that there was hype around it, but I wasn't expecting it to be hitting as hard as it is hitting. 89 is basically right just in the cusp of the 90s, but I didn't expect it to be that big of a release. And so I have been seeing clips of it. I've been seeing a bunch of hilarious like characters creating character creations of like creating like anime characters, creating like movie characters, creating real people in there, which the character design looks amazing. Just the ability of like what you can create in there within the game. And so that's been really cool. But I have been seeing like gameplay, and I don't know what it is. It's just like with these past 3 releases, it's like which I'm pretty sure we'll get to here in a second, but the performance of Dragon Ball Dogma 2 has really been surprising because it kind of seems, I don't know if I've been spoiled by, the way that games look nowadays, but it kind of felt like it was a little bit of a step back for Dragon Ball Dogma 2 for me, just from the gameplay footage that I have seen people playing. And so
like are you talking about like graphic fidelity?
Graphic fidelity and stuff like that, where it didn't look as clean for the most part. But I also don't know if maybe that has to do with, I know that there is a lot of talk about just the performance issues that it's been having with like NPCs and things like that, Yeah.
And so on the PC side, the performance is a major problem on the PC side. I don't know if it's the same on like consoles. I haven't seen too much about it on consoles. I'll look that up real quick, but I know on PC, like if you go to the Steam like things, people are complaining about the reviews. People are complaining about the performance on PC, and then they're also complaining about microtransactions. This is something worth talking about, that there is microtransactions that seem kind of frivolous. Like it's like getting like a waystone and stuff, and it's like things that you get in the game, but they're giving you like a head start, and it's only like 99 cents. And I've seen people very angry about this and blowing this and being like, why do you need this in a game where a single player experience and all this other stuff? And I agree with that for the most part. Like, why would you need these microtransactions like a single player game for these like waystones and stuff that you already can get in game? On the flip side to that, I've seen a lot of people go, this is not a problem at all. Like, you get these in the game, you don't have to buy these at all. Like, you get the waystones pretty easily and all this other stuff. And like, so I don't know, like, I don't personally care at all that these microtransactions are there, but I do see this argument that this could potentially lead to very like shady stuff happening in games and all that stuff, where it's like you are playing single player, where maybe they strip away like fast traveling and you have to pay for fast traveling and stuff like that. I've seen people make that argument. I'm like, I guess I don't think that would happen, but who knows? Like, if enough people are buying these like waystones and stuff, maybe the devs are like future devs and other devs who are making games will go, you know what? People are paying for fast travel. Why don't we just make them pay for it no matter what? They have to pay 99 cents every time they want to fast travel. They pay 99 cents in real life.
Yeah, that's like, crazy. But
I don't think that would happen because that would be insane. But whatever. Gaming, like, the world is insane, so it never doesn't.
True.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the whole thing? I'm curious.
I would say that is one. A part of me wants to believe that that'll never happen, but of course, the world that we live in says otherwise with the crazy things that have already happened in the past. And so because a part of me feels like if that company was to do that, where they say, all right, if you want this feature, you got to pay 99 cents to use it every time or whatever, I feel like there'd be too much of a backlash or uproar, on social media and stuff. But I mean, I don't know, really, to be honest, we're at a point which we've been for a while where I'm like, anything can happen. And like anything can, a company will say, guess what? This is how it's going to be. And, unless people speak out on it, that's just the way that it's going to go. But yeah, I mean, as far as the microtransaction, it didn't seem like a super big deal. I mean, I see why people might get upset, for the fear more so of like what could happen if this just kind of like starts to be a trend or starts to be a thing. But if it doesn't block you from being able to do it without purchasing, then I see nothing wrong with it. Just, it's kind of like it doesn't make me less, like, for example, like sometimes if if you watch Twitch or something like that, Amazon or whatever will give you like certain things for certain games that you play. They'll be like, hey, claim this. It'll give you, for Overwatch, they do skip 5 levels on your battle pass. I grab those all the time, but I'm not upset that, I'm not grinding through the battle pass, Yeah. But I don't see nothing wrong with it personally. But
yeah, I don't see anything wrong with it either. I do see, I mean, it could happen where, again, it expands into other things where it does become a problem. Maybe Capcom will decide, you know what, next Dragon's Dogma 3, fast traveling, you got to pay $1. Got to pay $1. I don't think it'll happen, but who knows? So on the performance side, the console's having performance issues as well. It's like apparently impossible to get to 60 FPS on consoles. And it's hard to, PC fluctuates all over the place, no matter like how powerful your system is. And so all this other stuff. And on the console, it like goes like below 30 often and all this other stuff. So so the performance is not great across the board. And that's something that's fascinating to me for a game like Dragon's Dogma. It reviews well because the gameplay is fun, the world exploration is fun and stuff. But it doesn't seem like a lot of reviews were taking into consideration the performance issues.
Exactly.
And this is something I have seen pointed out. Like, why are these reviews not taking into consideration these performance issues? Why are they not taking into consideration the microtransactions and stuff? And I'm curious your thoughts on this. Because I think for me, like gameplay, narrative, all of that stuff is very different from performance issues. Yeah. Because like you strip the performance issues away, you still have a really good game. Like you have an incredible, like you'll still have a really good game. Like Elden Ring is still going to be Elden Ring, even if you are having some like technical issues or if there are microtransactions and stuff like that. Elden Ring is still a good game.
Exactly.
Tears of the Kingdom, still a good game, even if you have like low frame rate and all this other stuff. And yes, I can understand that that can ruin the experience for some players, but I don't necessarily think that would ruin the experience for all players. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, definitely.
I think the core people that are complaining about the performance and stuff and the microtransaction are people that are really into video games. I don't think the average Joe person that walks into a store and goes, I heard about this game, Dragon's Dogma. It's a good game. I'm going to buy it. I don't think they care. They're going to care about performance. I don't think they're going to care about microtransactions because all they've heard is that it's a good game. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like they saw reviews. They said, oh, the reviews are good. I'll try this out. So I'm curious your thoughts on like, is that something worth mentioning in reviews? Like, should reviews mention that? Should they mention that you have microtransactions? Like, and should you review a game based on those things, or should it just be the core focus should be the gameplay and the narrative and all of that? Yeah,
I feel like for when it comes to game reviews, the core focus should always be if it's a great what's it called, a story, if it's a great like gameplay, if it feels smooth. When it comes to like microtransactions, unless they play like they have a big effect on you advancing through the story and they're kind of like preventing you, then I think you go ahead and mention that. But if otherwise, it's just something that you can do that can, might give you a little head start or might push you a little bit further down than anyone else who doesn't make a purchase through there, then I don't think that's not important to mention personally. Because at the end of the day, like you said, I think most of the time your average Joe is just going to be like, am I going to have a good time playing this game? That's all they really care about. A lot of the times the people who, like you said, the people who are complaining about the performance are very much into video games. They're like very nerdy and they know all the technical aspects that come with performances, the system and things like that. But the average Joe your average Joe probably can't tell the difference between 30 frames and 60 frames for the most part, unless they really pay attention and they're really like, it's kind of like the same thing where sometimes you might have a certain television that has a certain type of refresh rate. And it's not until you see like a TV that costs like $3,000 that you start to notice a difference. And you're like, oh, wait a second, this one looks a little bit more crispier. But if you don't pay attention to that, you just don't know. You know what I mean? Unless for some reason the game's performing so bad where it's not even a consistent 30 and it's only doing like 5-10 frames. And like, it's very sluggish and stuff like that. That's different. But for the most part, I think with the performance, I don't think you have to include it unless it's like literally unplayable. Like you just can't make it through anything like that. And I think this is standard when it comes to like the PC side as well as the consoles side. I mean, we can an example that I kind of just popped in my head was when Alan Wake 2 came out. It was very buggy. It was very messy. But it was still a great game. Exactly. It's still a great game. Yeah. It's still a great game, and there might have been certain moments, but overall, it didn't affect your view of the story and just like the progression that you made in the gameplay. For the most part, I'd say. Yeah. And I think Dragon's Dogma 2 is the same, where the gameplay is so fun, the story is it's really cool to get into, and it's just fun to get into that world. That I think that's fine, unless the game is unplayable. Then you can mention that. If not, I don't think it's a big part.
With that said, there was a point when I was streaming Alan Wake 2 where I was like, this is becoming unplayable. I don't want to play this anymore. And I had to stop streaming. I did come back the next day and continued. But there was that brief moment. There was the moment that I was like, I can't do this anymore. The game is bugging out. Things are disappearing. Yeah. I fell through the floor. I need to stop playing this and just walk away. And I did. It came back the next day and everything was working just fine because there was an update overnight. So,
there you go.
But it did reach a point for Alan Wake 2 where I said, I cannot play this anymore. Funny. So if Dragon's Dogma 2 does that, fuck you, Dragon's Dogma. I probably am going to play Dragon's Dogma at some point. I have no immediate desire to play it. I'm just, I don't know how to explain it. I'm just not interested too much. I don't feel like I need to go out and play it. I still have a backlog of games that I need to get to. And so Dragon's Dogma is just kind of like, eventually down the road, I'll get to it. Probably like, and again, the Steam sale or something is when I'll probably pick it up. But yeah, are you interested in playing it at all now that all the reviews are out and everything that you've seen? Or are you kind of just like, eh?
I'm similar to you where I'm not in a rush to it. To be honest, I probably wouldn't play it until either if it ever comes to Game Pass or unless it's on a Steam sale. Just because this is a game that requires a lot of your time, similar to your Baldur's Gate and just games of that nature that just require you to kind of like sit there and focus and like kind of like you and I'm pretty sure millions of other gamers, there's backlogs of other games that we need to catch up and get through first. And then plus I kind of look at it in a glass half full kind of way where I'm like, well, I can come back to this and maybe there'll be like a bunch of patches that'll just fix everything and make it just run smoothly by the time I come back. And then it'll be good to go. And so I'm not in a super rush, but I'm happy for everybody who is enjoying it and and is having a good time with it.
Yeah, I agree. Like, again, this is a game for you. You're having fun. Enjoy it. Ignore all the negativity around it. Same with any of these games. Same with Princess Peach. Same with Rise of the Ronin. If it's a game that hits for you, enjoy it. Yeah, that's what game it's supposed to be, right? If it hits for you, it hits for you. And there's no shame in that. Another game that I know, we're not going to talk about this too much. Alone in the Dark came out, and it hasn't been reviewing well, like critically. But I have been seeing people talk about, I'm enjoying this game though, but it's not reviewing well. Why is that? And it's like, well, if it hits for you, it hits for you. That's what it is. Yeah. Like, if you want a horror game, that's what Alone in the Dark is. It's a horror survival game. So maybe you just like that kind of game, So it's always interesting to see like how people respond to games. That's why I think people need to look beyond just reviews and actually watch streamers and all of that. But that's a whole nother topic that we don't need to get into because we can get deep into the rabbit hole with that. Oh yeah. And I'd rather get deep in the rabbit hole about Baldur's Gate 3. Larian Studios will not work on Baldur's Gate 3 DLC or Baldur's Gate 4. I'm going to do a quote directly from Kotaku. This is a quote on Kotaku from an article called Larian Studios Officially Done with the Baldur's Gate series. This article was by Levi Winslow. The quote is from Vinkei, who is the studio head, I believe. Yes. Yeah, Swin's Vinkei. This was a talk that he had at GDC, the Game Developer Conference. This is what he said. I told you at the beginning that we are a company of big ideas. We are not a company that's made to create DLCs or expansions. We tried that actually a few times, and it failed every single time. It's not our thing. Life is too short. Our ambitions are very large. And so, like Gustav, the code name for Baldur's Gate 3, taken from Swin's dog, who recently passed away, Baldur's Gate will always have a warm spot in our hearts. We'll forever be proud of it. But we are not going to continue in it. We are not going to make new expansions, which everybody is expecting us to do. We are not going to make Baldur's Gate 4, which everyone is expecting us to do. We're going to move on. We're going to move away from D&D, and we're going to start making a new thing. I'm saying it here because I have a forum, and we're getting bombarded by people that expect us to do these things. But that's not for us. It's going to be up to Wizards of the Coast, because it's their IP, to find somebody to take over the torch. We think we did our job, and so for us, it's time to get a new puppy.
Oh.
This is like, I have a lot of thoughts about this. One, fucking fantastic way of putting it. Like, yes, move on. Like, if you are not passionate about doing this, move the fuck on. Like, they left their mark. Baldur's Gate 3 is an incredible game. They have no reason to continue it. Like, if they don't want to continue it, they don't need to. Like, this is going to be controversial, maybe. They don't know the fans anything. They like made their game. True. They made the game that they have a vision for. They're going to still provide updates for the foreseeable future. The updates will stop eventually, probably within like the next year or so. But they have no obligation to make an expansion pack. They have no obligation to make a sequel, you know, like they can move on. Like, let them move on. I've seen people get upset about this. I'm like, why? Like, if you like Baldur's Gate 3, look forward to what they're going to create next. Because Larian Studio is clearly talented. They made an incredible game. I would argue they've made incredible games even before this, because Divinity Original Sin 1 and 2 are incredible games. Like, I love those games. I love them. So I knew Baldur's Gate 3 was going to be something special. But like, I'm excited for what they will create next. Whatever that is. I'm so excited for them. And I love their statement, the statement that they had. Like, we are a company of big ideas. We are not a company that's made to create DLCs or expansions. Life's too short. Our ambitions are very large. Like that. Yes. Move on. Create what you want to create is my stance on this. Elle, what are your thoughts?
No, I think you said it perfectly. It reminds me of the, I don't know how old this phrase is, but you know it. You either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. It's literally their life.
That's what Batman was.
Exactly. No, but that's what it makes me think of, because they were literally like, you know what? We've put everything that we wanted to put into this machine here, this game, this, this child of ours that we loved so much. And here you go. People loved it. They praised them. They're like, oh my God, this is amazing. And they were smart enough to have the foresight to ask themselves, like, do we want to continue this? Do we want to? And they said, no, they know what they want. They know what they want to do. And it's smart for them to act on that, not to just kind of feel almost kind of shame or guilt into continuing it, just to appease people. Because like you said in the beginning, they don't know the fans anything. They don't. We're lucky enough to have received such a great game that just took over the world when it came out, and it's still a great and amazing day, constantly updating, which is great. I love it. All the updates that they keep everybody posted on, and we're lucky, and everybody should be like grateful to them for this amazing game that they gave us. And like you said, it's people should get excited for what else they're going to make, because if they know that, wow, Baldur's Gate 3 was amazing, then well, let's see what else they got coming next, because maybe they'll love it just as much, and it'll be in something completely different, not D&D anymore. And so, which I also too understand why people might be upset, because it's kind of like when you see, like, if you're a big fan of either like an athlete or movie star, and you always see them in a certain type of light, like they're great, and then the second that they kind of start to dwindle a little bit and they lose that power, that star power of what they used to be, you're kind of like, oh man, what's happening here? What's going on? They're upset because, they're not going to get more of what they got, but they gave us so much, everyone I think should be happy that we got what we got. And, enjoy it. You can always play through it however many times you want to play through it, and just, try to do as many different things and just have fun with it. And so it's it's interesting, because I think it's cool for them to be able to expand and just kind of go explore something else and try something new. You see that with a lot of studios and a lot of publishers, of just like, they're known for one game and then they decide, you know what, I'm going to do my own thing and go somewhere else. That's with, I forgot his name, but the creator of BioShock, him creating the new game Judas looks like the previews look amazing. And I'm like, man, I can't wait for this, because I love BioShock so much, so much. I want to see what else he's going to make. What else, what kind of world is he going to create for us to explore, So kudos to the team for like saying that, and saying, don't expect anything from us. Don't expect Baldur's Gate 4. Don't expect any new DLC, new expansion. We've been there. We've done it. This is what we're going over here, wherever they go. And that's it. Kudos to them for that.
Yeah. And to kind of break this down a little bit more too, from an article on IGN, by Kat Bailey, Larian started work on Baldur's Gate 3 DLC, then canceled it. The studio was elated. This is a quote from the article. When it came to time to make DLC, though, Vinkay says Larian was going through the motions. Quote, you could see the team was doing it because everyone felt like we had to do it, but it wasn't really coming from the heart. And we're very much a studio from the heart. It's what gotten us into misery, and it's also been the reason for our success. We continue on with this. Vinkay said, I came back and I told the team, after he came back from vacation, I came back and I told the team, we're not going to do it. We're going to shift around, and we're going to start doing these other things that we talked about, that we planned on doing before we started on Baldur's Gate 3. Those were always the plans for afterward. And we have 2 games that we want to make, and we have lots of concepts. So let's just have closure on BG3. It's been great. We've done our job. It's a story with a beginning, a middle, and an end. So let's pass the torch to another studio to pick up this incredible legacy. So again, just giving it closure. I think this is an amazing stance. With all that said, I applaud Larian Studio for their stance. But whoever takes over Baldur's Gate, like if there is a Baldur's Gate 4, they have massive shoes to fill.
Yeah, very massive.
Which, to Larian's credit, they also had massive shoes to fill, because Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 are beloved games from the late 90s, early 2000s, when BioWare made them. BioWare made the original Baldur's Gate 1 and Baldur's Gate 2, and they were, at the time, beloved by the people who love RPGs, who love D&D. They were lauded as being fantastic. And so, of course, Larian also had massive shoes to fill, and Larian pulled it off. So it'll be interesting to see if Wizards of the Coast, who own the IP for Baldur's Gate and D&D as a whole, who they could give it to. I don't envy the studio that picks it up and tries to replicate it, because you can't just make a copy. You got to do something and make it your own. Otherwise, it becomes disingenuous and people aren't going to enjoy it, And you also can't just sweep it under the rug and act like it never happened. Like, exactly. It's such a complicated thing. So I don't envy any studio in the future that will potentially take this over. With that said, Larian proved that a studio can take a game from almost 20 years ago and present it in a fresh, new, modern sensibility and knock it out of the park. So maybe it's a story that 20 years from now, we see Baldur's Gate 4 20 years from now, when we're old and dying, you and I, L, because we'll be old. 20 years from now, we'll be in our 50s. So,
we'll be, oof.
We'll be old. We'll be 50 years. Actually, we'll be young men. We'll be 50 years old. We'll be middle-aged men.
Oh, yeah.
50 is the new middle age, right? So, but with all that said, though, like maybe that'll be what happens. Who knows?
Yeah.
We'll see. Elle, do you have any thoughts about the potential of Baldur's Gate in the future?
I think kind of the same way that it's just been, I know there'll be people who just love Baldur's Gate 3 in the future, and whoever decides to take over the mantle, whoever the Wizards of the Coast decides to kind of offer that olive branch to be like, hey, why don't you try this? Just, I always say this with anything, just kind of be a little forgiving and just allow whoever's taking over time. Give them a little bit of grace, just a little bit, because everybody knows they're going to have big shoes to fill. And so just give it time, because you don't know how it's very difficult to live up to a legacy like that. How 1 and 2 were so beloved, to 3 being as amazing as it was. So it's like they're a dynasty in a way. They're just like 1 and 2 were amazing. Then 3 was even more amazing. It's, there's not really too many people who are unhappy with the series. And so it's like, okay, just relax, take your time. Don't be,
don't go crazy when it's not exactly what you were expecting.
Yeah. Or I'll say this, the perfect way to sum that up is to say, do not expect Baldur's Gate 3 in Baldur's Gate 4, if that makes sense. Don't expect it to be like a one-of-one, like carbon copy of it,
Yeah.
It's going to be
it's not going to be. It's going to be a different team. They're going to have different ideas, different perspectives, different take. Sure, it'll be in a D&D universe, but the beauty of D&D is that there's so many stories you can tell. Yeah. Whether it's going to follow whatever happened before it, or just creating something completely new. Like
exactly.
The beauty of D&D is just creating your own stories, and I think that's the fun of it all. And I think that's the mindset. Whatever devs take over need to have that mindset of just like, you know what? Let's tell the story that we want to tell, and hopefully people resonate with it. So,
exactly. Very true.
And I mean, that's all you can do at the end of the day is just create something and hope. I'm sure Larian Studio at the time was like, we're creating something and we're hoping that people will love it. And lucky for them, it hits, and everybody, for the most part, loved it. I'm sure there's people out there that like absolutely hate Baldur's Gate 3.
Of course, yeah.
They're crazy. All you crazy people out there. But yeah, like this was surprising to hear this week, to hear this news about Baldur's Gate 3. But I'm also excited to see what Larian Studios is going to do. I'm excited to see what would happen to Baldur's Gate, whatever that may be, whether it's Baldur's Gate 4 or if it's a spin-off game, whatever it is. I'm interested in seeing what's going to happen there. I'm interested in seeing Larian's next game, because they've proven their games have proven that they are very, very excellent devs, and we should pay attention to them because they are creating some incredible stories in the RPG space. And I'm just really excited what Larian's going to do. And that's all I really have to say with that. Like, winding this down with that, like, I'm just excited because I love it when there's passion, and like, it sounds like there's a lot of passion. We've off stream have said this to each other. What's the point of doing something if you don't love it? And it sounds like that's what Larian Studios is doing. Is like, yeah, we did what we did. And, our heart wasn't in making this DLC. So we're just going to pivot and go work on the things that we are passionate about. I think that is something to applaud.
Agreed. Couldn't have said it better.
So, Elle, any final thoughts on any of our topics, from the review roundup to the Larian Studio saying F you to Baldur's Gate 3? That's not what they said. But we're going to spin it that way. Soundbite that. Larian Studio said, fuck you to Baldur's Gate 3 and Wizards of the Coast. I'm making up a narrative now. Let's start it. Don't do that, guys. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't start this narrative, guys. I take it all back. Don't soundbite that.
I'll just say that, if you enjoy Rise of the Ronin, hey, I'm happy for you. If you enjoy Princess Peach, I'm happy for you. Dragon's Dogma 2, happy for you. If you enjoy it, don't always base whether or not you'll play a game off of a review. Like Jesus said earlier, watch streamers, watch gameplay video footage, watch other people, just get as much information before you decide. Download a demo if you have the ability to play it, see if you like it. And
you know what? I take everything I said back because I don't want you to agree with me. Fuck these games. You shouldn't like them. They all suck. There we go.
Oh my god. But outside of that, have a good time. Play a video game.
Play video games because video games are cool again. Just like The Rock said, wrestling is cool again. WrestleMania in 2 weeks. I'm going to go watch it. Wind us down.
Everybody, thanks so much for tuning in to the podcast. You can catch the video version of the podcast available on our YouTube at Respawn Please Podcast. Type that in the search bar. We'll pop up there. It always comes out on Mondays at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, as well as the audio version. It's available everywhere you can get podcasts. Just type in Respawn Please Podcast in the search bars, wherever you get them, and we'll pop up. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube, hit the bell icon to be notified of future videos, and make sure to share it to a friend, share it with your grandma, share it with somebody who likes video games. Also, make sure to follow us on social media at Respawn Please Podcast on Instagram and TikTok, and we'll be seeing you. We usually stream Wednesdays and Thursdays at, I already forgot the time. Is it 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern?
Yes.
Or I'm sorry, Central.
8 p.m. Central, yes.
Time zones are hard.
Yeah, time zones are stupid. We should all just live in the same time zone.
I know.
One unified time zone.
I know, right? It'd be so amazing.
Earth time zone.
But catch us next week, possibly live streaming here. You'll see some schedule stuff. But outside of that, thanks for tuning in. And go play a video game.
Go play video games because video games are cool again. They've always been cool, actually. You know what's not been cool? I'm kidding. Anyways, bye.
Bye.